Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading on February the 22nd, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so we are going to start off with our Forex factory calendar here as usual. So here we have, all right, so first today, let's take a look at what happened during the day. Big thing that happened, couple of market moving things that happened. First one was inflation report hearing. So this is basically same as Bank of England sort of giving a statement, and which is really what they were doing. It was Bank of England, so it was BOE governor and several MPC members that were testifying on the inflation and economic outlook. So it is very similar to what like having a Bank of England event. So with this one, Bank of England, basically Carney said that, and like other members as well. So what they said that, like Haldane here, so what they said was that economy was getting better and actually inflation's getting better. So they may even have to raise rates before the November date that they were looking at. So they may have to move that up to May. So when somebody starts talking about, or a central bank starts talking about raising interest rates, is good for the currency. And as a result of that, we saw everything push up as a result. So US dollar weakened and everything else pushed up, especially the British pound, but it kind of starts everything across the board. So we saw Aussie pull up, we saw Euro pull up, we saw everything pulled up as a result of that. So that was one thing. And then secondly, then we have FOMC meeting minutes. So FOMC meeting minutes, they actually came in positive, but they were just their comments were not, I don't know, did not align as a result or something like that. So initially, we saw a sell-off in the US dollar. So everything jumped up against the US dollar, but that was very, very short-lived because overall, though, it is hawkish. Because what they're basically saying is that inflation is consistent, it is going up, and which is good, and economy has been doing well, so things have been going well, employment is good, basically things are looking up, and they will do at least 2 interest rate hikes, potentially 3 this year, and the next interest rate hike could be in the next FOMC meeting. So that was the gist of it. So as a result of that, we did see a quick push up, and inefficient moves like that tend to get filled very, very rapidly. So we saw prices go up. I'm just going to quickly take a look at the chart here. So we saw this big push up and then a drop. This is euro dollar that I'm looking at. So this is the craziness that tends to happen. We saw price go up and then it fell even further, right? So overall, though, FOMC was positive, although initial reporting was not considered as hawkish, but then the market sentiment changed pretty rapidly and we saw a big sell-off. So overall, though, all in all, it is positive. They're still on track for raising rates this year. So things are okay. Things are bullish for the US dollar. And that's why we saw this sell-off. So going back to what's coming up, on Friday, we have, well, first we have FOMC members speaking. We have second estimate GDP. This number will be important. So this is important. And then we have another central bank. So we have ECB monetary policy meeting accounts, which is basically the same thing as meeting minutes for Fed. So another central bank. So between today and tomorrow, we have 3 central banks speaking. So basically expect volatility in the market. And then we have core retail sales for Canada, which will create sort of volatility for Canadian dollar. But then we have a couple of FOMC, so another FOMC member here speaking later in the day, and we have crude oil inventories as well. So from London perspective, we have a couple of things. German IFO business climate number, so that's an orange one. That is usually important and it will impact the euro. Second estimate GDP will impact the British pound. And then we don't have anything. However, because we do have ECB monetary policy meeting accounts, things could just go sideways till we get to this one. So So that's what's going on, and we've had a good run today. So I am not sure how many trades I'm going to take in the London session. I will still be there, but I would rather protect the profits that we have. So I will point out anything that I see in the market, and if I feel like I should get into a trade, I may still do that. But I'm going to be playing it more defensively. Today was more of an offense day. So we got, I think I had 32 pips on the first one that we took, GJ, and then Aussie dollar, we had 34 pips. Pound yen, we had 45, euro yen, 45 pips, and pound yen, we are in the trade right now. So that's a lot of trades and a lot of, good amount of pips there. So I'm going to just play it defensively. So keep that in mind. We've had a big volatility moves in the market. So just be careful, especially with ECB here. It will create volatility in euro and the pound when that comes out. So we have to be careful with that. So that's for coming up tomorrow. So let's take a look at what's going on from our charts perspective. So yesterday we had a bearish candle close. We were looking for another move to the downside, which we got, and it came closed right into the pin that we were looking for. Next one here, now we are starting to get into the bottom. So next target here would be 122.05. So bias is bearish. Today we had another bearish bias, so we're looking for another move to the downside. But with ECB coming up, market could start to go sideways ahead of that. So do keep that in mind. So from euro dollar bias, we're looking for a downward bias. My target is 1.2205. And in terms of the pullback, this is where we currently are. Market is holding low, which means it could go lower. And this is something that, in retrospect, I should have taken. I was not in front of my computer and not keen to add on too many trades. So this was a really good sort of, just the way price was. It looked good. So nice tweezer tops here, and then we saw a drop. So basically, I'm looking for price to drop here. Now, be careful. I did take a small position here, but I just want to mention that we have a lot of positions going on. So we have a pound yen and a pound dollar short position. So I'm hoping pound yen will close. So I did take a small one here that I have not posted. So please be mindful if you are going to take a position. I'm just looking for a target of this S2 here, but I'm going to evaluate it, and I may just get out of it because there's lots going on, but bias is definitely to the downside. Pound here, pound, I am more biased to the downside here. So we talked about that today. We were looking for a drop. We got the drop, and now the bias is still to the downside, and I'm looking for price to basically drop here. And the target here would be 1.3840 level, which is the bottom here. So that's what the bias is. It could go lower right into the bottom of that pin, which is 138.20. So definitely the bias is to the downside. And in terms of this one here, we could get a pullback back into the pivot here. So that's something we have to look at here. It could do one of these and then drop. So we have this inefficient move here, and I'm looking for that to get filled. And so essentially looking for price to come into this S2 level and then potentially drop into 1.3800. So again, a bearish bias on pound. Aussie dollar, the bias is bearish, and I closed this trade before this move up, somewhere in here, just because price was, I was expecting volatility. But this one is another one that I am still expecting further weakness. First target would be 77.60 level, and the second target would be 77.33 level here at the bottom of this pin. So that's a big, bearish close for the day, and I'm looking for a further drop here. The bias is to the downside for that one here. It is holding low, so I'm looking for price to drop here. But we have to watch this S1 here, 72 level, but definitely looking for it to drop further. Actually, this may be a better short than, euro here. Either way, both of them are biased to the downside. I'm not in the trade anymore. This was a trade that we took yesterday after our call. So New Zealand dollar is also biased to the downside. We had a nice bearish candle close. This is where we sit right now. And with this one, the next one is 72.80 level, which is this pin right here. So I am looking for a drop into 72.80 level first, and then potentially lower into 72.50 level. So the bias is to the downside. This is where we are. We could get a pullback back either into the pivot point right here or into 73.26 level here, or 20 level back right into here. And here we also have an inefficient move. So I'm looking for a New Zealand dollar to drop back into the 72.50 level. Now, if you are going to be taking some of these trades, I would just caution that manage the risk, because when we have too many trades on, the risk can become a little warped. Okay, so this is another one. We've been looking for bullish moves, and this is again closed right above the previous high. So looking for price to move up higher for dollar CAD, biases to the upside. First target 1.2740. Second target 1.2800. So those are the two targets to the upside, but the bias looks very strong candles moving up. So the bias is to the upside. Now we could get a pullback, and the potential levels for pullbacks would be like this pivot point, 1.2680, move into the pivot point, and then a further move to the upside here, kind of like that. So, but overall though, we've had this, trending move to the upside. So I'm looking for the continuation of that trend up. Euro Swiss franc, the bias is to the downside here. We have had a small candle close to the downside, but overall we are making lower highs, and as such I'm looking for price to drop. The target here is 1.1450 level. So I'm looking for a drop, basically looking for price to, and it may not happen just tomorrow because this looks like it's just kind of stuck in the range right now, but it is making lower highs. So we are pointed down. So target would be 1.1450. And this is kind of where we are. So looking for just continuation of the move. But the first one though, be careful of that, 1.1500 and then 1450. So those are the two targets to the downside. Pound Swiss franc, this looks like it wants to move lower here as well. And daily bias, we have bounced off of this previous support and resistance level that we had talked about yesterday. And now it looks like it wants to move lower. So the target for this one would be 1.2980 level, which is the base of this pin here. From 1 hour perspective, we're holding below the pin, below the pivot point. So I'm looking for this inefficient move to get filled, looking for price to come down into this S2 area at 1.2980 level. Dollar Swiss franc here, this is bullish. We are coming into resistance, so be mindful of that. The bias is still to the upside though, based on the daily candle close. So I'm looking for price to go into 94.50 level. So this is where we are, but so we have to be careful. So we could get a move back into the pivot and then a move up, or we could come a little lower, even into this 93.60 level, and then move up from there. But I would be cautious because if we take a look at our resistance, it's right there. So it has to go to the other side of the resistance for the move to continue. So price would have to go above 9,400 and hold above 9,400 for it to go higher. So this is bullish, but with caution. Pound yen. Pound yen, this is the trade that we are in currently, and moving lower here. So this is moving nicely. So hopefully we'll hit our target here. Actually, I can't even remember what the target was. Let me check. Pound yen, our target is 149.05. So about 30 pips away, or 25 pips away from the target. So it's dropping nicely, which is good. So for this one, it could go lower into 149 or even lower to 148.70-ish level, back right into the bottom. So the bias for this is to the downside, and I'm looking for a further drop. So 148.70 will be the target for pound yen to the downside. Euro yen, we are out of this, booked a profit here. Nice pin bar for the day, and now it is dropping even beyond our target here. So the target for this one is 131.40 level, which is right into the support and resistance area. It could go lower into 131.20, but the bias overall is to the downside. Aussie yen, same thing. We kind of held this level that we had talked about yesterday. Very strong bearish candle close, looking for price to drop further, even into this 83.30 level. So bias is to the downside for Aussie yen as well. Dollar yen here looks like it's holding below this level. It hasn't been able to break the high, this previous support resistance level. With all the yen crosses dropping, dollar yen is dropping as well. So for this one, the target, the first support would be 107.28, and then it could go further into this 10700 level or into a 106.80 level. So that will be, let's say 106.80. So that will be the target to the downside for dollar yen. CAD yen, very nice. We have 2 pins into this previous resistance level, which means it is going lower. It is into support, but it looks like it wants to move lower. And the target here will be 83.70. 83.70. This is our target to the downside, 83.70. So that's so the bias is to the downside. New Zealand yen, pin bar here, doji, looking for price to drop. Target here is 78. So we can say 78.00. So that would be the target to the downside. So basically all the yen crosses right now are moving lower. One thing that I would say about the yen crosses is that Bank of Japan is known for interfering with the market. So if Japanese yen starts to strengthen a lot, just be mindful of that. We don't want to be caught in dollar yen or any yen crosses with a large position size. It actually wiped my account once because they interfered, and that can be very, very quick. So just be mindful of that. We don't want to take on too much of a risk, because if they decide to intervene, we won't even know. It will just happen, and there's nothing we can do about it. And then they don't announce it, they don't do anything, they will just go and basically sell yen in order to bring the price down. So just that's the caution I would offer. But right now, all the yen crosses are biased to the downside, and I am looking for pound yen. Pound yen, we are still in, and just looking for a drop. So we need another 10 pips basically in the trade, and that would hit our profit target. So good trading today. I will be back in the London session, but like I said, I'm going to be very cautious because we've hit basically the whole week's target in one day. So let's just preserve our profits and not take on any silly trades that don't need to be taken. All right, so that's it. Any questions before we wrap it up? Okay, if not, all right, so we'll call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening, wonderful night, and I will see you guys in the London session then at 3 a.m. Eastern. Bye for now. You're welcome. Bye.